Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something you're probably hearing a lot about in the SAP world,
hmm
SAP Joule.
hmm
We've got quite a bit of source material here, some research papers, overviews, detailed documentation. And our goal really is to sift through all this and figure out, just based on these sources, what is SAP Joule? What's it supposed to do? And maybe most importantly, why should you, if you're involved with SAP, actually be paying attention to this?
Absolutely. And right away, the sources position Joule as SAP's AI-powered digital assistant. Think of it like a co-pilot designed to work across pretty much the whole SAP application suite, S/4HANA, SuccessFactors, Ariba, you name it.
Okay, across the board then.
Yeah. And what seems to make it different, at least according to this material, is that it's specifically called business-specific generative AI. It's built, right into those SAP applications.
So wait, we're not just talking about like sticking a generic chatbot onto an SAP screen. Is that the idea?
That's a really key point the sources keep making. They explicitly say it's not just a simple chatbot. It's apparently engineered to understand business language, use the context of what you're actually doing in the system, and tap into SAP's underlying business data models,
Right.
which allows it, theoretically, to give much smarter, sort of enterprise-grade answers and insights, things that go beyond just basic questions.
And the name Joule, that stands out. Unit of energy, yeah.
Yes, exactly. The sources do point that out. It seems quite intentional. It ties into this idea that the assistant is meant to, well, inject energy into how productive users are.
Injecting energy.
Okay, yeah, the goal seems to be cutting down on those annoying, time-sucking manual tasks, delivering the right info, the right actions quickly, basically giving you a boost to get work done faster, smarter.
I like that framing, injecting energy. Makes sense. So where does this intelligence, this energy, actually originate? What's the tech foundation SAP's using here, according to the source?
Well, the material highlights two main things. First, it's built on the SAP Business Technology Platform, BTP. Ah, BTP. Okay.
Yeah, if you're in the SAP space, you know BTP is kind of their central hub for integration, development, intelligent tech. Joule specifically leverages BTP's AI and integration capabilities.
Right, so BTP is the base layer. What's the second component?
That would be the generative AI piece. Joule uses large language models, LLMs.
Okay, LLMs, like we hear about everywhere.
True, but here's where the sources say it gets interesting. These aren't just off-the-shelf generic models. They're described as being trained and specifically fine-tuned for enterprise scenarios, for the specific complexities you find in SAP environments.
Fine-tuned for SAP data and processes specifically.
Precisely. And the sources also state these models are actually embedded within SAP's core products themselves.
Embedded within.
Yeah. So it's not like you're sending your data out to some separate AI service. The AI is designed to work directly with the business data inside the application you're currently using. It sees the context. Huh. That embedding does sound pretty powerful. I mean, it should really understand the specific screen or data you're looking at. So, okay, given that foundation, BTP plus tuned embedded AI, what are the main things the sources say Joule can actually do? What are its key capabilities?
The documents seem to group them into four main areas. First up is natural language interaction. Basically, you can ask questions or tell it what to do using just plain English, like you're talking to a colleague.
Okay.
The sources give examples like, what's driving the sales dip in the North region this quarter? Or show me our top 5 suppliers based on-time delivery.
Or even, I think I saw draft an email summarizing this report.
Exactly, stuff like that. Drafting emails, summarizing key points from maybe a quarterly report.
So you don't need to memorize like transaction codes or specific report names anymore. Just use business terms.
That's the goal, yeah. It's designed to grasp the intent behind your question and the business context. Second capability, real-time insight and suggestions. It doesn't just pull data. It's supposed to analyze it using business logic and then offer recommendations.
So more like giving advice, not just spitting out numbers.
Yeah, kind of. So instead of just listing, say, all your open purchase orders, it might flag the ones that are getting old, or maybe suggest consolidating orders from a certain vendor because it knows about the contract terms stored in the system. It's about generating actionable intelligence.
Right. Moving beyond just reporting. Okay, what's the third one?
This one sounds like a big deal. Actionable automation. Joule can apparently directly trigger workflows and processes within SAP. The sources talk about deep integration, especially with tools like SAP Build, so a natural language request could potentially kick off a whole business process.
Wow. Okay, so if I get an insight like about those delayed orders, I could maybe ask it to, I I don't know, create a follow-up task for the sales team.
That's exactly the kind of scenario described, moving straight from asking a question, getting an insight, to immediately initiating a relevant action or workflow right there in the system.
And the fourth capability.
Document handling and generation. We touched on it a bit with the email example, but yeah, asking Joule to draft things, summarize complex documents, or even create reports by pulling data directly from SAP systems, trying to cut down that manual effort.
Okay, so natural language, insights, automation, document help.
Sure.
That covers quite a bit. Where do the sources say we'll actually see this? Is it everywhere in SAP now?
Not everywhere all at once, it seems. The sources list key areas where Joule is being embedded first. Definitely core ERP stuff and S/4HANA, think supply chain questions, financial analysis. It's mentioned for HR in SAP Success Factors, maybe helping with talent insights or HR processes.
Okay.
Procurement via SAP Ariba is listed, could help with supplier risk, analyzing contracts. Also in CRM, like SAP Sales Cloud, maybe helping analyze customer interactions. And even in analytics tools like SAP Analytics Cloud, letting users build dashboards using natural language queries.
It really sounds like the strategy is to put this co-pilot wherever you're interacting with SAP data and processes eventually.
Yeah.
Can we maybe walk through that real-world example the sources provided? It seemed to tie a few of these capabilities together quite nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. That example helps make it more concrete. It focuses on a consultant working with a client, consumer goods industry, using Esperanto, and they're dealing with delivery problems.
Go.
The scenario starts with the head of sales noticing more delayed customer deliveries in one specific region, let's say the North Zone. So instead of manually running, half a dozen different reports.
Yeah, the usual drill.
Exactly. The user just asks Joule something like, why are order deliveries delayed for the North Zone in the past 30 days?
Okay, there's the natural language query. What does Joule do then, according to the source?
So the material says Joule goes to work analyzing the relevant delivery data, stock levels, right there within S/4HANA. It figures out there's a stock shortage for 2 specific products in that regional warehouse.
Oh.
And then it connects that shortage to delays in receiving those materials from one particular vendor. So it links the supply side issue to the customer delivery problem. And then based on that analysis, it suggests potential solutions, like maybe look for other suppliers or consider transferring stock from a different warehouse.
Okay, so that covers the insight and the suggestions part. What happens next?
And this is where the automation kicks in. The next step in the example is the user telling Joule, start workflow to approve alternate sourcing for both materials.
Ah, okay. Directly telling to act.
Right. That's the actionable part they emphasize.
Mm.
Going straight from insight to starting a business process inside SAP. The sources describe this as enabling, quote, digital transformation in real time. That's the kind of benefit they're highlighting.
Yeah, that example does make it much clearer. It's not just fetching info. It's analyzing, recommending, and then helping you do something about it. So based on all this, how exactly do the sources say this is different from, a regular chatbot we might see elsewhere? What makes Joule different?
They draw some pretty clear lines. A typical chatbot often doesn't really know the business context of what you're doing. Joule, because it's embedded and understands SAP logic and data models, is designed for high contextual awareness. That's one big difference.
Mm-hmm. Context.
Then a standard bot is usually limited to basic Q&A. Joule is built specifically to trigger complex business processes within SAP. Traditional bots might have general knowledge. Joule is trained specifically on SAP's, huge amount of business data and process knowledge.
Right, domain specific.
Exactly. And where a simple bot might have a very narrow view, Joule aims for a more unified perspective, potentially seeing across different connected SAP applications.
And what about data security and privacy? That's always a huge concern with AI and company data.
Yeah, and the sources make a point to address that directly. It's critical. They state that, unlike maybe some generic AI services out there, Joule operates entirely within SAP's existing enterprise-grade data governance framework.
Okay.
Your company's data stays within your own SAP system. It's explicitly mentioned that it's not used to train any public AI models. That seems core to their security and compliance message.
Good. Okay, so the data stays put, managed by SAP's enterprise rules. Yeah. This all sounds like it could have some pretty significant implications. For anyone working with SAP, right, what does the source material suggest this means for, say, an SAP consultant or just a regular business user who relies on SAP daily?
The sources touch on a few potential shifts. For roles like consultants, it suggests maybe a new kind of expertise is needed. You'll need to understand how to effectively prompt Joule, how to phrase your questions in natural language to get the best insights, the most useful actions.
Right, prompt engineering, but for business users.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. That skill, interacting effectively with the AI, seems like it becomes really important. It also hints that advisory work might shift more towards helping clients figure out how to use these kinds of co-pilots to really achieve business goals. Maybe less focus on just navigating transaction codes or setting up standard reports.
Okay.
And the sources also imply, new opportunities for consultants in actually designing and building these AI-assisted business processes using tools like SAP Build together with Joule.
And for the average user, how might their day-to-day change?
Well, for end users, the sources really emphasize enhanced efficiency, getting information faster, having insights delivered right to you, being able to kick off tasks without digging through complex menus. The aim is to make using SAP feel more intuitive, less dependent on memorizing steps or codes.
Okay, so we've covered quite a bit here. What Joule is, it's Tech Foundation BTP, and that tuned AI, its main capabilities like natural language, insights, automation, document handling,
Mm-hmm.
where it's showing up across the SAP landscape. We walked through that delivery example,
Right.
talked about how it's positioned as different from traditional chatbots, and touched on the implications the sources raise. So let's boil it down. What does all this mean for you, the listener, kind of in a nutshell?
Well, based purely on this source material, it means SAP is pushing Joule as a co-pilot, one designed to bring that real-time energy to your tasks, making things faster, giving better insights, hopefully leading to more informed decisions right within the SAP tools you already use. And crucially, it's consistently framed not as a replacement for people, but as something that enhances or augments human capability.
That term supercharge human capability keeps popping up in the material, doesn't it?
It really does. They strongly emphasize that idea. Joule is there to supercharge what users and experts can already do by adding this intelligent layer over complex systems and data.
That's definitely a powerful concept to end on.
Absolutely. And it leads to, I think, a really interesting final thought for you to consider, drawing straight from the sources. How might adopting AI as a true co-pilot, something working alongside you to get faster, smarter solutions, actually change your specific work or your company's context? And maybe what skills, especially around effectively prompting and leveraging these AI tools like Joule, might become increasingly valuable as this tech gets woven deeper into enterprise software?
Yeah, it really signals a potential shift in how we interact with these big systems, not just operating them anymore, but while having a conversation with them to get results. Definitely something to mull over regarding the future of work.
Precisely. It's about embedding intelligence right where the work happens and figuring out how best to partner with that intelligence. That seems to be the key takeaway.